is a really simple sweet that can be brought to a barbecue. It could be brought to, it's really cute. In fact, I realized as I went live that I did not find my cookie cutters yet. So I know I've got biscuit cutters, which is what you can use. You could just use a glass and then cut the moons from that. And I thought it was interesting because it has been a while, you know, since I've had any moons, and definitely since she made them because she passed away quite some years ago. But the way she describes the shaping part, which is at the end, she talks about using a glass that's 2.5 inches diameter, and then you cut it into crescents. And of course, the detail person in me is like, oh, were they just half circles or did she actually etch in? So I'm not really sure. So I'm going to kind of do it and see what looks right. And so you're going to learn along with me because it's the first time I've made this recipe. You know what happens when we have loved ones in our life who make things for us? We kind of, you know, if we've never made them ourselves, we don't think about it until after they've gone oftentimes. And then we think, oh, I want to make this. And then we don't have them to ask questions to. So my advice to you is if you have a loved one that makes something yummy, make it while they're still around, make it with them. And also that way you also can ask questions and you can learn from them because they've made it multiple times. So I do wish I could ask her these questions. But in any event, I will figure it out and you will figure it out alongside with me. But I will look for those later because there will be some bake time, so I'll have plenty of time to gather that part for the recipe. But the recipe is actually quite simple. It involves butter, sugar, eggs, flour, baking powder, and walnuts. So specifically, it is a 1/2 pound of butter, and you do want it softened, and so I have my butter here softened. You guys might remember if you've seen my other streams that I think it was even last weekend, I needed some softened butter and we forgot. And so I put it right by our windows and it softened up in a jiffy. Got the sunshine up, but I actually remembered last night to put this out. So it'd be all set for the recipe today. And it's also going to, besides a 1/2 pound of softened butter, 2 cups confectioner's sugar, 4 eggs, 2 cups cake flour. And so I did buy cake flour for this. I don't think I've ever gotten cake flour. I don't think I have. If I did, I just don't remember, which is not a surprise, but it's been a while if I ever bought it. So there's a couple different brands. I just got Swan's. So I believe a cake flour is more finely milled, so it should have a softer crumb. And but I will say, it's funny, in the recipe, a lot of her recipes have a sift the flour, and maybe this is going to be a moot point because it is cake flour, but just to be safe, I was going to sift it. It does not call for that, but I was going to do it because it's not going to hurt it for sure. And then with that cake flour, a teaspoon of baking powder. And then on top, we're going to be sprinkling 3/4 cup ground walnuts. And I just realized that I was thinking I could do that during the bake, but I'm going to do that before the bake. But I have it all set over there. I've got the nuts, and I've got one of those little food processors. So I'm just going to do it in there. And a teaspoon of sugar is going to be mixed with that, and that's going to be sprinkled on top. So yeah, so it's pretty simple. There's not a lot of ingredients, but they're really yummy. And what's nice is, and I've mentioned this, they're sturdy. So to bring and to travel, they're going to hold together, and they're super cute for, you know, whether it's a party or you know, a shower or something like that. So we're going to get started. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to cream the butter and confectioner's sugar together. So I'm going to first get the butter in. By the way, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the streams. And also be sure to like the video. And midweek we do cocktail or takeout streams, takeout reviews. And on the weekend is when I do my cooking streams. And this summer I've been doing them Fridays just to give us more leeway for things we might want to do in the city on Saturday and Sunday. So thank you for joining me on Friday if you are. So again, this is a 1/2 pound of butter, so 2 sticks. unsalted, please. It doesn't call for that, but I have always learned that you always use, actually you should always use unsalted butter. You can control the salt that way, but especially in baking recipes, you'd want to use unsalted butter. All right, so we have our ½ pound sugar, and now we're going to get 2 cups confectioner's sugar. We do not need to set that. And I have my confectioner's sugar right here. I have a little bit, I found out I had like this little wee bit and then this larger bit. So it better be 2 cups, but it should be fine. And I'm gonna put it over a paper plate so I can put it right back in the bag when I level it off. Leveling is always a good thing to do when you are measuring, especially for baking, except for when you're doing brown sugar. Brown sugar gets packed in, but you never want to pack your other dry ingredients, especially flour. So we have about a ½ cup there, so we're going to get a little bit more in. I thought this was interesting, using the confectioner's sugar to cream. I've never done that. In my cooking, I've never creamed confectioner's sugar for frosting, but not for a batter. So I'll take that back. For frosting, I've done this, but not for a batter. So, and I'm going to get out so I'm not forgetting about it. My spatula. So that's 1 cup, and I'm putting my, oh, there we go. I'm getting my 2nd cup. Yep, I'll make sure I don't miss anything. So put a little bit more on there. Get it to go across. All right, 2 cups. And now this, of course, can puff up and put a lot of white on you. So what I'm going to do is start it slow. Get it going a little bit, and I'm going to get the sugar. I'm going to need this for the flour. Get the sugar here. Now, I will say it was interesting when I was reading the recipe, because it mentioned mixing the batter at one point for 10 minutes, which I thought seemed like an extraordinary amount of time for a cake batter. But this is my first time making it, so I feel like I need to adhere to that. But I found that really interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna get this going. And because it's confectioner's sugar and softened butter, it creams super quick. I mean, that came together super quick. So I'm actually, let me just give it a big whirl first. Get it nice and beat up there. Okay. So then I'm gonna scrape down my bowl. Okay, there we go. Oh my goodness, that looks beautiful. So I'll try to remember to show as I go. So you can just see it's all creamed together. Okay, and now I'm gonna be mixing in for 10 minutes, it says, the eggs. So, and it is 4 eggs. So I am definitely going to crack and add those in one at a time to make sure I don't have any funny business happen in my eggs. Not that I would expect it, but, and actually, you know what? I got extra large eggs by error, so I think I'm gonna get just my large eggs. I've gotten these, and then I had gotten some large, so let me just go for the large ones. I would have liked for these to have been room temperature, because often in baking, it's good to have your eggs room temperature. But I had the wrong size out. I wasn't noticing that. Okay, so there we go. So 4 eggs. And I want to crack those individually. They are super cold. Luckily, my other ingredients are warm. So I'm going to crack those individually and add them. In fact, I'm just going to So I'll get that turned on and going slow, and I'll add and I'll ramp it up a little bit. So I missed a cooking night last night where one of the people I follow on Twitter, they were doing all egg dishes. And so a lot of my Twitter friends were doing all these amazing egg dishes. And I was hoping to participate because I love eggs. And actually, I even had ideas of what I was going to do, but I had jury duty. I had my civic duty here in the States for jury duty, and I was there much longer than I was hoping to be. In fact, what happens is when you get jury duty, at least here, you have to call in the night before. And I will say that usually when I call the night before, I'm told you don't need to show up, and then there's a sigh of relief and all of that. But I did not get such message when I called. So I went on in, and then I was hoping maybe I'd go in and they would be like, oh, we're good. No such luck there. And so I'm trying to think, like over 7 hours later, we finally were dismissed. So I added my 4 eggs. I'm going to get this going a little bit. Actually, I'm going to scrape it down once more. It's kind of all sticking. And I'm going to have this mix for 10 minutes, about 10 minutes. That is extraordinary. Fine. And I'm going to, scrape down the edges during that time. So we're going to give this a go. You're going to get a lot of Amy chatting today. I apologize for that. As my sister said, I really can chat. So I'm going to start a little slow because it's a little bit soupy right now. And I'm wondering, so I'm looking at this, and with that amount of eggs and that amount of butter and sugar, I just think what they're wanting to do is really incorporate those together, because right now they look pretty separate. So let me just put, let's see. So I'm putting my timer on, and I think that's the reason. And so I'm really anxious to see. So I'm just going to pause this for a second. I want to show you what it looks like after just a couple minutes. Oh, this thing's falling right. So I'm going to put this here. Just want to show you so you can see, because I'm feeling we're going to very much find out why it's important to do that. So if you look here now, see how, well, first of all, it's of course very soupy, and I don't think you can quite see that, but it's very separate. I mean, they're together, but they're not. And so I believe what's going to happen, just move this a little bit. I believe what's going to happen is after you get this going, that will change. So anyways, yeah, over 7 hours, and it was a lot. So I'll talk more about that later, but my day did not go as I planned. And then I was fortunate enough to have reservations at a really delicious place here in Philadelphia that makes my favorite pasta. I love pasta. I don't eat pasta as much as I used to, because it likes to just settle in places like my hips and my belly and my arms, all over the place, right? So I definitely don't eat pasta as much as I like to. So when I want pasta, I want to have good pasta. And the place we went last night that we had reservations for, Fiorella, it is magnificent there. It's not a big menu, but everything they make is spectacular. And there's a couple of dishes that they have that they're always on the menu. One of them is this rigatoni in this tomato sausage sauce, and I'm just going to up it a little bit as it's starting to come together. And it's a house-made sausage, and it's from an old recipe, and I can't remember the history because I remember reading about it. It's from an old recipe. That is phenomenal. And the pasta, I mean, the sauces are amazing, don't get me wrong, and they're an important component. But part of why I think I love the place so much is their pasta is on point. Like, it is whatever they use ingredients to make it, and then it's always cooked perfectly. It has just that right chew to it that you want. So anyways, that's one of our favorite dishes. And then they have a cacio e pepe that is just to die for. That's always something we order. And anyways, we tried a new pasta, and I can't remember what it was called. And that was very good. Like, but there's the standbys that we have to order every time we're there. So everything was delicious. The focaccia bread is amazing. And they have this thing called carosa, and it is the most delightful concoction. It has this bread and fresh mozzarella stacked, and the bread becomes so airy and pillowy, and the fresh mozzarella, and this whole thing is dipped into the lightest of batters, and then it's fried, and it's like pillows of cheese and breadiness. It is just delightful. And they have like a tomato jam they put it on top of. Oh my goodness, I'm making myself hungry right now. And I'm also realizing, even though I picked up some groceries this morning, I really don't have anything for lunch, so that'll be fun. But maybe I'll just eat this for lunch, right? They'll be fresh. So, as I mentioned, I was pretty sure there was a reason for the 10 minutes of the mixer going, and it absolutely is, because all of that butter and sugar that had been creamed is now getting broken up smaller and smaller, and I'm going to up it a little bit more. So thank you all for your patience. I know it's not fun to wait, but as simple as this recipe is, when I saw that, I thought to myself, there's a reason, and I feel like I'm seeing it right now. It's amazing, this mixture with the eggs, because as it becomes more incorporated, you can up the speed, and it's just becoming very light and airy. Like I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it. So while it's finishing up, I'm going to get the flour and baking powder mixed together. Okay, so for the flour and baking powder, I'm going to use the sifter. It is 2 cups of cake flour, and I put it right here. And 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Oh, I think I can put the box. Okay, the scissors. Cut that open. All right, so that measured, and before I measure that, I'm just going to put this down. It's getting so light and fluffy, but I really wanted to make sure that I punched down the sides. Now the timer I set was for 8 minutes, because she said about 10 minutes, so I have a feeling I might have it go just a little longer. I'm going to get it up a little higher while I measure. All right. You know what, Lynn? Second paper plate. There we go. That's 1 cup. I'll measure here, and then that's going to be a real mess. Oh my gosh, I'll show you this end mixture. It looks so creamy. Okay. This over here. Creating quite a mess. Quite a mess. Okay. So I have 2 cups of the cake flour, and I'm going to add to that a teaspoon of baking powder, and I'll sift it all together. see the end result of the 10 minutes. It's quite remarkable. Wow. Wow. All right. That was amazing. I don't know. There's a little. Oh, I think that's from the egg. It's interesting. A membrane from the egg. I'm going to take that out. 1 second. I don't know. That was interesting. It's always interesting what you find in your baked goods sometimes. Anyway, let me show you how this has changed. So you saw it was super soupy when I did before. Now look at it. Look how whipped. You see that? It has come together. It is light and fluffy and totally incorporated, and it won't come out. You saw it was like soupy. So the 10 minutes is a definite. Do not skimp on the 10 minutes. That definitely makes a change to that. All right, so then what I did was I sifted 2 cups of flour and a teaspoon of baking powder. So then we're just to pour it in gradually. So let me get this back on. That's interesting. I love when you learn something new. Like I've made a bunch of stuff, baked a bunch of stuff, but I've never done this kind of process and seen that change. I think that's remarkable. That's what I love about cooking, is always learning something new. Okay, so I'm going to do this gradually. And we know why. Otherwise you'll get a big flour puff. So, you know, it's funny, when I wrote down the recipe for the moons, I feel like when you, as a cook, look at the ingredients, I don't know, I feel like you'd be like, well, what's so special about that? And the dish is really simple, but so delicious. And it's hard to explain, but having never made it, now I'm realizing, because I think sometimes you can use some very simple ingredients, but when they're treated a special way, they really come up with something quite remarkable. So, and I'm learning that. I also think it's cool. One thing, you know, I know not everyone likes baking because it is a more exact science, but what I love about it actually is the fact that science is involved. Like, there is a change that is made. It's not a physical change. Like, it's like a chemical change that happens when you put all these ingredients together and apply heat. And I just think it's almost like magic. At least as a kid, that's how I felt. Just as magical how you can put some things together and they turn out totally different and just absolutely delicious. Hopefully that doesn't matter, that we'll just still add that little bit in. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop it for a second, and oh, that looks like a delicious batter. Just put on the sides so that everything gets well incorporated. Okay. I feel like sometimes in the KitchenAid, the bottom of the, oh my gosh, oh my goodness, oh, that batter is, that's a really good batter. It's such an amazing consistency. Okay, so let me do a final little spin with these ingredients. I also thought it was interesting that it didn't have any salt, because, you know, as I was mentioning, when, nope, It's my little trick for getting some of the stuff off. It's dangerous, but I unlock it and I start lifting it up while it's spinning, and it helps you do the trick of getting your batter or whatever you're mixing off. Oh, I got some on the laptop. That is tasty. And it's mousse-like. Really incredible. Such a cool consistency. All right, so then what I'm gonna do before I get the nuts ready, now you've seen me do this before. It calls for a greased 9x13 pan. I'm going to use my trusty pan baking with flour just to make sure nothing sticks. You can definitely go old school and grease it. I am not going to. This is just how I prefer to do it. Okay, so that's all set. And now I'm going to put the batter into the pan. My oven is already preheated. I'm going to be cooking it on convection because it'll make it speed it up a little bit. So I'm just going to spread this out a little so it'll be easier. Okay. I'm going to get out my other. It's just such a beautiful batter. I know you're probably sick of hearing that, but it is really beautiful. Okay, so I'm just gonna spread this out. I almost feel like I'm spreading a frosting. That's just that's the vibe I'm getting, but it isn't. It's this delicious batter for moons. Of course, I guess you could keep, if you did the circles, you could keep them full and just call them full moons, right? But they are cute. And honestly, because, the fact that these are cut out after they're baked, what I love is that it could be anything, right? You could cut them into hearts. You could cut them into stars. For like 4th of July, we just had that. You could make them anything, which is, I think, what's cool. Whatever cutouts you have. All right. So I don't know if I should be doing this, but I'm just trying to make it not slightly, but even, because again, we're gonna be cutting these out. So I'm trying to make the dough fairly even here in the pan. Again, I'm just going by my intuition, so I'm hoping that will be right. Okay, now, so that is just so good. All right, enough with that, right? Enough with saying how good this is. It's not taste-o-vision. So before we put this in the oven, we do need to sprinkle it with nuts and sugar. And in fact, I'm going to just put them on here. And so I'm going to chop, let's see how many nuts. We need 3/4 cup ground walnuts. Okay. So I'm going to measure, I don't think I have to measure. I think this will be about 3/4 cup. Make sure that, yep, so you can see. So up over here I have just one of these mini choppers. Put this down. Put this up away. And I'm just gonna put all the nuts I have. I think that should be make about 3/4 cup. If not, it'll have to do. I'm just gonna put that in here. I don't know about you, but I'm always with these choppers, I always feel like I'm not getting the thing on right. So let's see if I can do this. must feel like that with these choppers. Oh my goodness. See, this is what happens. So, seriously. Okay. I'll get this on first. There we go. Then I'll get this on. What? Okay, it's locked. Oh my gosh, did you see how long that took? That's part of why I don't always use these, because it's just ridiculous. Now, one thing you want to make sure that you don't do, you don't want to nut butter. But you, let me see. Okay, you don't want to nut butter, but I feel like you want them pretty finely ground. So I'm going to stop there. Let me show you what I've got. And there's one big piece I'm going to take out. That's like a really big piece. So I'm not going to have that one. You want it pretty fine. So there's some little chunks. Like just looking, I just wouldn't have any really big chunks. I don't know. Someone might find that a really good find. And so to that, I'm actually just right in here, I'm going to add a teaspoon of sugar. Go, just regular sugar. Just sweeten it up a little bit. And then I'm just going to stir this up. And I'll spoon this around. And then all you're going to do is you're going to sprinkle the top with the nuts that's mixed with the sugar. And that's it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just sprinkling these. So it's going to be a considerable sprinkle, obviously. Now, of course, if you don't care for nuts, you could always leave this off. I think it adds important texture and some flavor too, but the batter is a great batter. So if you definitely don't like nuts, you could just maybe sprinkle it with some sanding sugar to give a little texture. You could also try some different nuts, see what their flavor is like. Okay. And I'll show you what this end result looks like. I'm trying to do it as even. Sorry about all that noise, but just, there we go. Whoops, that kind of went in a plug. Let's see if I can. All right, okay, let me show you how this looks before I put it in the oven. So, spread with the ground nuts and sugar, and it's going to go into my oven. I'm going to switch it right now to, actually I'm going to do that, even though it's going to be convection, I'm just still, I always, if I have the opportunity to, just, convection. So it would, normally this is going to go into a, remind myself, 350 oven, so in convection it would be 325. I had been preheating it on 350. I'm going to put my baking rack down, even though it's convection, and I really don't need to do that. It's old school. I feel like it should be in the middle of the oven, but it's convection, so it doesn't matter. All right, so there we go. It's in convection for me, 325, or regular oven 350, and it's for 25 to 30 minutes. So I'm going to check it in 15, it's gonna be 15 to 20 minutes. So I'll check it at 15. I don't expect it to be done at 15, but we'll check it then. All right. So simple. So really, really simple. The biggest thing is to try to remember to make sure that you soften your butter, right? And you do need to use the confectioner's sugar. And I don't know about you, but I always feel like confectioner's sugar is something that I often have in my pantry that just takes forever to use. So it'd be a good use of it for something other than a frosting or adorning Dutch babies like we did a few months ago and for Father's Day. So I'm gonna just put this here, and then I'm gonna get out my cookie cutters and see what we're gonna do with that. Now I think they're here on the side, so let me just take a peek. I don't use them very often. Yep, there they are. Now, I'm going to be getting out a sample at the end when it's done. As you know, with these streams, the thing with baking is that you're always supposed to let things cool, but for the interest of trying it, for my folks that are watching when I'm streaming, you don't get the opportunity to see it then. So, oh, what are you on? No, Shell, it's fine. No, it's fine. My goodness. She can't hear hardly anything, yet she seems to think she's hearing something, and there's nothing. So, poor thing. Anyway, so I have, so there's so many different that you could use. I would need to make sure it was big enough. And I also feel like, I also feel like, uh-oh, my reindeer got caught up in my biscuits. There we go. Oh my. Okay, there we go. So we have the biscuit cutters. A heart would work. The thing that'll be difficult for using these little cutters is it'll rise. So like a biscuit cutter is nice because you can put it in there and you're going to be able to get it out. It'll just be a little trickier with other shapes unless they're not a little taller. So it said 2.5, and my eyes would say that this is probably a 2.5. And I'm going to keep that because I have an idea for a little trick that'll make it easier. But you could get a glass. And it doesn't have, if you don't have a 2.5 glass, get one that would work. So we'll put these aside. So I'll take this opportunity to let you know about a couple of things coming up. I knew I was going to have such a time, so I wanted to give some things to talk with you all about. If you are watching this video, then you can just fast forward until you see me bring out the Yummy Moons ready for cutting. So I did want to let you know that Wednesday will be our next stream, and we are not doing a cocktail stream. As we mentioned, we're going to be doing a takeout review, try or buy, and it's a newer restaurant in the city called Taste, and it's I believe it's like Southern soul food. So really excited to try that, and we'll be getting from there on Wednesday. I'm not sure yet what we're going to pick. We're going to take a look at the menu and choose some yummy options, and then we are going to be going on a trip, which is really exciting. So I will not be streaming again, but I will be if you follow me on Philly Live Twitter. You can see pictures of the places we'll be eating at, and maybe some pictures from the hikes we'll be going on. We'll be in Asheville most of the time. So I'm super excited about that trip and happy to share it with you on Twitter. But I will tell you that when we return, I will be turning around, and on Sunday the 24th, I will be doing a cooking stream. It'll be actually one of my favorites. So I do a lot of light cooking. Last night was such a splurge with the delicious pasta at Fiorella, but mostly we try to eat healthier, less of the starchy carbs, more vegetables, fruits, protein, lean proteins. And one of my favorite recipes, and I believe it came from a Weight Watchers cookbook. There was a time, I can't remember if it was my mom that had given them to me, that she was using them, whatever. There was a ton of Weight Watchers cookbooks, or if I just bought them. I don't recall, because that's just me, right? But they had some really great recipes in there, and one of them was the Southern style barbecue shrimp recipe. It is so easy and so flavorful. And you could just have it over some cauliflower rice and keep it super low carb. Or what we do like to do is get a couple rolls or a small loaf of bread, because the sauce that's in it is so yummy to mop up with a piece of bread, and you don't want to miss it. But I'm going to be sharing that on the 24th of July. So it's a great meal, because you can just bring the whole pan, especially if you make a lot of it, the whole pan table side, and people can just scoop up shrimp and scoop up some sauce. It's best served in a bowl so that you can dip bread in there. It's perfect to me with a salad on the side. So just these yummy shrimp, some yummy bread to dip it in, and then salad on the side. A really good, easy, quick meal. So I will be showing that on the 24th, and then we'll be back in the swing of things in our streams. And I think I have recipes through or streams set up through the end of the month, and then soon at the end of July I'll be dropping my August and maybe even a little into September schedule. So this is the time. Is there anything you suggest that you want to see me cook, or whether it's a certain kind of cuisine from a part of the world, or it's regarding a certain kind of protein or vegetable or whatnot, please let me know what your thoughts are. So on Philly Live on Twitter, I always post my current schedule, and that's at the top, I pin it, and under that you could always add some ideas that you want to see in future streams. So I do read those, and there was someone recently that had posted an idea, and I said to him, yeah, I'll try to fit that in. So so I definitely take a look and see what recipes that I like to make that I might share with you, or just to try a new recipe. So that's coming up. But one of the things I did want to share about why the stuff is cooking was my day yesterday with jury duty. So that, anyone that's watching that's from the States, that's our civic duty, and I'm not sure how it's handled in other countries. But basically you'll get a summons from time to time, no matter where you're living, saying that you've been selected for jury duty. And as I mentioned before, I've never actually had to go to the courthouse. I've always, been like, no, we're not going to need you. You can stay home. So I did go, and there was a part of me, I will say, that was fascinated with how this whole thing was going to work, especially being in Philly now. It's a big city. And so, there was a huge room of us, probably 150 people, and then we were sent off into 3 different courtrooms of about 50 each. And then they were going to be going through the process, and it was a long process. And so a couple things I learned is things I did right and things I did wrong. So one thing I did right was I ate breakfast beforehand. I almost didn't. I thought, you know what, I'll eat, just wait till lunch. I've been kind of indulging a lot this week. So glad I did, because, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. I also threw in 2 snacks that I'd gotten on an airplane when I'd been traveling in the spring. One of them was just a little thing of, peanuts that you get on some of the flights. And another one was just a little sampling of the Biscoff. They give you some of the places. I love Biscoff. Those are so yummy, such yummy little wafers. So I just threw those in, just in case. I brought a water bottle, which was another good idea. And I brought, I think, 4 magazines, a book, and I brought a journal and a pen. So that was all really wise, because really what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're bringing stuff that is going to, kind of keep you busy for a while, because I was there the better part of the day, and I know I could have been there till 5, which I was glad we weren't there till 5, but being there till, I don't know if it was like 3:45 is the better part of the day. So, and we had to be there at 8:15, so that was a long time. That was all good stuff. What I wished I would have brought, in addition to that, I wish I would have brought coffee. It got very tiring just sitting there. And so my group was lucky. 25 of us were able to leave for about an hour to go, this was at 10:30, to go get to stretch our legs, get coffee, get a bite, get whatever, we wanted to do. And I took it as just that. I wasn't taking, this is lunch break. I thought it was just like, let's go stretch our legs. And if you're hungry, get a nibble. So I went to a nearby coffee shop, La Colombe, which is amazing coffee, and got a cappuccino, which I desperately needed because I was so tired. I thought I'm going to absolutely fall asleep just sitting here waiting. Even though I was reading my magazines, it just all made me very drowsy, did not have enough coffee for that. And so I got a cappuccino and a croissant, which I'm glad I had something, but I should have had lunch apparently, because until 3:45, we were not let out again. And the other group that was with me, they weren't let out at all. So that's why I'm sharing. You may not be let out at all. So not only do you want to make sure you have a decent breakfast before you go, but definitely bring snacks, and quite a few. And bring coffee, because if with these double-walled aluminum coolers that are, thermoses that we have, I would have brought a full thing of coffee and just had it later, like if I was stuck there and not able to get anything. So bring snacks, plentiful, and bring coffee in a cooler, like in one of those aluminum things for later. The other thing I wish I would have brought was charger and extra, those little power bricks or things that you can then plug into your phone, because my phone was losing charge. So at one point I stopped using my phone in boredom, because I was like, I'm going to totally run out of power. And so bring a power cord, because there was a time that we could find a charging station, but then that kind of went away. So you need one of those power, little bricky things that you can just plug into your phone to give you a little more juice if you need it. So food, coffee, that. The other thing I would recommend, is I wish I would have brought, earbuds, because I saw someone that was actually just watching a TV show on his phone. Brilliant, but I didn't have, earbuds to do that. So I brought earbuds too. The book I had was a total fail. I was so excited to read this book. It was a book I'd heard was a great love story. I never saw the movie, and I need to actually see it because it's one of my favorite actresses. Emma Thompson is in it, and the actor, Anthony, he's the one that, it's The Remains of the Day. Was it Hopkins? No. Yes. The one that is on that really creepy movie where he's a killer that he's always known for, Clarice, that fella. And I think it's Sir Anthony Hopkins. I think that's his name. Anyways, both brilliant actors. And so I definitely want to see the movie, because it was years ago that it came out. I think it won Oscars, but I think I was at too young of age to really appreciate it, so I did not watch it. But I heard the book was great, and I was bored to tears reading the book. I got through the first couple chapters, and I was done. If a book doesn't grab me in the first couple chapters, I'm kind of going to put it down. So that's not to say that you wouldn't like it, but I will make sure I go see the movie. So maybe bring a couple books in case, or it's a book you're already reading. The magazines were a great choice. I think that was really about it. I think it was more the coffee, more snacks, and chargers. I think they would frown on you if you brought a little cushion for your seat, but we were in these hard wooden chairs, and I felt bad because there were 50 of us in the courtroom they were asking questions, trying to pick the jury, and all different ages. And I just felt sorry for everybody, including myself, that it just really, you would get up and you try to walk around a little bit, and it was kind of unpleasant. I said necessary evil, but kind of unpleasant. But this is the good news. The good news was at the end, when we all came in there, no one said a word, and we were listening for our directions and instructions and all of that. By the end, though, everyone was talking to each other, and we live in such an interesting world right now, especially in the States. And, there's so much, I think with social media, there's so much that people say to each other because they feel empowered to, because they're behind a screen. And anyways, we could all use a lot more kindness. So what was really cool for me was being in this room with 50 people from different ages, different backgrounds, different socioeconomic, different religions, different cultures, different races, different genders, all of us were in this room. And by the end, everyone's chit-chatting with each other. Like it was really cool to see, like all these people being very familiar and cordial, and I don't know, like that gave me a little hope in a humanity, right? So if we're all stuck in a room, that maybe we can figure it out. So maybe if we're all stuck in a country, we can figure it out too, right? So I'm sorry, that's my little, I feel like I just preached. That's my little 2 cents for today. So it just beeped, so let me check it. And I will say, I don't think it looks done. But you know what, I've not made it, so I should just check it. I'm gonna bring it out, I'm gonna pop a toothpick in and just make sure, because I've never made this before. So how can I know just by looking at it if it's done? So let me just pop it in. It's lightly browned around the edges right now. Yeah, pop this in the middle and see what happens. Oh, well now I don't know what to do. Well, it is clean, so that's good. Oh, that one isn't. Yeah, that one's not clean. So that's why you should always pop it in a couple places. So I'm gonna put it in for, just to be safe, another 5 minutes. Okay, all right. But yeah, so what I didn't like about jury duty was the length of time and my bottom getting so sore. But I should leave these out. But what I liked about jury duty is just getting a sense of, and feeling heartened by humanity of who was in the room. Because it was to many degrees unpleasant, but no one was unpleasant with each other, which to me, that's remarkable. So that was my good takeaway from doing my time there. Anyways, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I was going to share with you today, which I'm sure you'll be so excited about. Oh, future grandma recipes. Yes. So when I've gathered any of the recipes that I had of hers, and there are a few more things to bake. I'm not sure how I'm going to dot them because I like to do one of her recipes a month. So I'm not really sure where they're all going to fall yet. But there is a cookie called anise cookies that she used to make, and they're really unusual in the process. So that's one. I was first intimidated by the 7-year cake that I made, yay. But this is the next one that actually intimidates me a bit because of the process. So I definitely want to make those. I'm trying to think if I want to make those in August or not. So we'll see, but they will be in a future stream. I loved, these are simple, beautiful, but simple cookie. And the anise flavoring is light. So I do not like ouzo or sambuco or a heavy licorice flavor. I don't like black jelly beans or black licorice. But I do like anise and things. In fact, I add, with thoughts of my grandma, when I make biscotti around Christmas, I always add, the biscotti I make has actually almonds in it, but I tweak it. Instead of adding almond extract, I actually add anise because it reminds me of my grandma and these cookies that I love of hers. So I've always been intimidated by the recipe, and you'll see once I do make them. So those are a cookie. And what I love most with these cookies is dipping them in either hot tea, which is what I did as a little girl, or hot coffee, which I like now. But when I was young, I liked dipping them in hot tea. So they were delightful. They're a harder cookie, but there's just something about their texture. I was fascinated as a little girl with these cookies, and I love them. And they to me really personify my grandma. So I will be making those. And then we have a lot, and then there's one thing she was very much known for, kuchen, which really looks kind of like more like a sticky bun, but it's all done in a pan together. And she brought pecan kuchen, wherever she went. And that is something I've never made before. So that'll be coming up at some point. But then there's also some savory dishes that she made. So in the fall, winter, be on the lookout for not just baking streams with my grandma's recipes, but some savory that could be for dinner. So that would be some future grandma recipes. And I am so hungry, I'm realizing I am really hungry right now. So yeah, so that would be future grandma recipes. But one thing I would say, if you're watching this video later, please let me know about some of your favorite recipes from your family. What are some recipes that your grandma or grandpa used to make, or maybe it's a great aunt or uncle that are ones that you like to either make in their honor, or that you want to go grab that recipe for because you want to make sure you get it. So it says that there is a minute left, so I'm going to take these out, and then what we're going to do is we are going to be, I'm going to be carefully taking one out of the pan so that you can see it, and then I can taste it. It'll be hot. I've never had a moon hot, but I'm going to show you a technique that I think could be useful in making the moons. All right, so I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to turn this off. We're going to take this out. Nice. So it's nice, it's lightly browned. I went because when I touched one part, it seemed like it went down a little bit. No, it seems. So I will tell you, one of the things that worries me a little bit about trying to cut these, I definitely think it's cooked, about trying to cut these, is it is such a tender cake that I'm worried it won't quite come out, at least across to you all, how it's supposed to look. But you know what? You gotta take chances in life. I'm just gonna do that here at the end, and obviously I have the whole rest of the day to let this thing cool and cut it out proper style. So let me show you what I'm gonna do. First of all, let me show you how this looks. Let me get my other mitt. So this is how it looks. See that lightly browned? Okay. And, all right. So I think what I'm going to do, let me think. Looking for my spatula. Okay, sorry about that. I'm just trying to figure out a plan. Ooh, I have that one. Yeah. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a section. Okay, I'm going to take out a section, and then I'm going to cut it afterwards. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Okay. So, okay. Let me. Again, this is not what you should do. You should not cut into a hot cake and try this. But for the stream purposes, I'm going to, so that you can see how it turns out, and hopefully I won't totally ruin it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out this section. See if it won't come. I'm going to need my mitt and pop it out, and then, oh, this is going to be interesting. Let's see. I have an idea. I feel like a surgeon trying to figure this out. You know? Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay. Oh my. So the cake, the crumb is such a fine crumb, and I'm trying to think of an example of another cake. And I can't, but it's remarkable. Okay, so let me move this out of the way. So again, you should let this cool fully before you do any cutting. And while she said just grease it, if I did this again, I would put parchment paper like I like to do so I could just lift the whole thing out. I would definitely do that next time. I'm wondering, like, did they not have parchment paper back then? I wonder, I don't know, like I just find that interesting. And then I'm going to take one of these biscuit cutters and I'm going to cut out a piece. Now, I will tell you the first thing, one of the things I thought of when I was doing this is I was thinking about the waste, because that's how my mind works. And so I'm like, I'm all for cute, but what about the waste? Although I guess the waste isn't waste if you're getting to enjoy it. Okay. All right. So let me get out a color so that you can see it better. So, what I'm gonna do is I have these two circles. So again, you could have full moons, right? They are good, even if they're warm. And then what you could do is you could cut them, so you have these, you could cut them in half. And that's what I don't remember, is if those were the moons, then in half, you know, or what I don't know is if she went the extra mile and like took out a little bit. There's no way she did that, because that would have been so much waste. It must have just been in half. And that made the moons. That had to have been. Okay. So let me put these here. Let me show you. See the two moons? Let me show you. So I want you to see the crumb. It's almost like I just don't know my cakes well. I don't know if it's like a chiffon cake. If you do know what kind of cake this is more similar to, let me know. But it is just, that cake flour, it is so, it's just, the word is tender. It is so tender. It's delicious. And it definitely feels, it definitely feels special. So, yes. So here are the moons. So I might just cut them out into circles and make full moons, but but my grandma did halves, and she does say in there, cut into crescents by using small 2.5 inches diameter, cut one round and then cut crescents. So you must just cut it in half. That must be what's happening. So there are the moons. Okay, now I'm going to try one full size. Really good. It's just so tender. Like, that's the best. I'm going to have to look up what kind of cake this is called, because it must be called something. So tender. Very yummy. Very yummy. So try it. Let me know if you try it. Thank you for your patience today for the stream. Thank you for your patience with waiting for the moons to get finished. And again, I'm Philly. Please like the video. Please subscribe so that you don't miss any of my cooking streams. And please comment below, because I do check in with my YouTube to see if there's any comments that I can respond to. So make sure you do that. And I hope you have a delightful weekend. And until we eat again, I will see you next time. you know, on your own. So everyone have a great weekend. Thank you, DS, for hopping on. And I hope everyone enjoys themselves, has a great summer weekend. And for those of you that are in winter, stay warm. And until we eat again, see you later.